All right, welcome to Young Adult Literature. We're going to be talking about The Catcher in the Rye today. And this is going to take the place of the virtual session. I noticed that in the class, the virtual session has been assigned at all different times to people. And some people don't even have it assigned. So I wasn't sure how to make this work. What we're going to do instead is we're going to add this to a discussion board, and I'll want you to respond here, and you'll get credit that way for having taken part in this sort of collaborative process. We're starting The Catcher in the Rye, and to give you a little bit of background, it's probably one of my favorite all-time books. It used to be my favorite all-time book. Back probably 20 years ago when I hadn't read nearly as much as I have now. Today, I would say it's still one of my favorite books, but it is not the favorite one. I read a book by Ian McGregor. I think that's his name. I hope I'm not getting that mixed up with the actor. Atonement. It was turned into a movie a few years ago, but that book blew me away. So I think that I would say that's my favorite book now. But anyway, Catcher in the Rye is a classic, and it is a favorite for many, many people. What we're going to do is we're going to look at how to do close reading with The Catcher in the Rye. And this is a great choice because the voice is so strong in this book. And if you see, you got this guy in the red hat smoking a cigarette. This is Holden Caulfield. He's the main character of the book. And he thinks everyone is a phony, which is why it says here, Holden Caulfield thinks you are a phony. He thinks everyone is. And when you read the book, you'll realize what he's talking about. So what do we do when we do a close reading? In literary criticism, the term close reading describes the careful, sustained interpretation of a brief passage of a text. What does that mean? That means we take a really good look at how a piece is put together, how the author chose to deliver the content of a particular book, what kind of words were chosen, what kind of syntax was chosen, and then why, right? What is the purpose here? So some of the things we're going to be looking for, again, what is the purpose? What is the author's purpose? What to look for when doing a close reading is word choice, right? That is unique. We're also going to look for phrases that are put together in interesting ways. And then finally, possible different interpretations of lines. So maybe there's not just one way to look at a line of text. The best way, we will also be looking at conclusion. What might the author's purpose be? The best way to look at a passage, and this is the very first paragraph from The Catcher in the Rye, is to read it through once before really starting to analyze. So we're going to do that first. And this is The Catcher in the Rye. It is chapter 1. It is page 1 of the book, so nothing too in depth in the book right now. There's no background knowledge you need to bring to the book at this point. Let's just take a look at this first paragraph. All right, so we're going to read it through once, and then we're going to start looking at the different elements. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like, and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into it, if you want to know the truth. In the first place, that stuff bores me. And in the second place, my parents would have about 2 hemorrhages apiece if I told anything pretty personal about them. They're quite touchy about anything like that, especially my father. They're nice and all, I'm not saying that, but they're also touchy as hell. Besides, I'm not going to tell you my whole goddamn autobiography or anything. I'll just tell you about this madman stuff that happened to me around last Christmas, just before I got pretty run down and had to come out here and take it easy. I mean, that's all I told DB about, and he's my brother and all. He's in Hollywood. That isn't too far from this crummy place. And he comes over and visits me practically every weekend. He's going to drive me home when I go home next month, maybe. He just got a Jaguar, one of those little English jobs that can do around 200 miles an hour. It cost him damn near $4,000. He's got a lot of dough now. He didn't used to. He used to just be a regular writer when he was home. He wrote this terrific book of short stories, The Secret Goldfish, in case you never heard of him. The best one in it was The Secret Goldfish. It was about this little kid that wouldn't let anybody look at his goldfish because he bought it with his own money. Killed me. Now he's out in Hollywood, DB, being a prostitute. If there's one thing I hate, it's the movies. Don't even mention them to me. And that as Holden Caulfield. So just some preliminary overview things about the voice. First of all, it's first person, right? We are looking directly through Holden Caulfield's eyes. And because it's first person, there may be some manipulation of what he's looking at. And as the audience, we have to be careful about that, right? Is he tainting our view because we're looking at this through his perspective? And secondly, about the voice, is he is not afraid to swear. So if you're uncomfortable with that, you're going to have to try to look beyond his swearing to really get to the heart of what this book is about. And yeah, sometimes language like that can be distracting, but it's not what the book is about, right? This is not a book about swearing. This is a book about looking into the life of this kid and trying to figure out how he views the world and whether or not that view of the world is something we understand and can relate to. So let's start right at the beginning. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me and all that David Copperfield kind of crap, but I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. All right, so this is interesting. First of all, he addresses the reader. Okay, and this could be an author's choice in that he is trying to bring the reader right into the book. It's always pretty fascinating when the authors do that. They try to break down that wall, right, between the reader and between the book. And the author is trying to do that here. He addresses us. What you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like. Now, this is where first person POV comes into play. We need to know, as we're reading the book, whether or not Holden's childhood was actually lousy. Was his childhood lousy? Or is he just being, kind of flippant here? I don't think Holden Caulfield had a lousy childhood, but we need to find that out. All right, and then how my parents were occupied and all before me. So what did his parents do before having kids? Right, that's what he's getting at. And then David Copperfield is a reference to a book. And we'll have to look that up so we understand what he means by David Copperfield. But I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. And here is more of first person POV. Holden doesn't want to talk about his childhood. Okay, we find this out in the first sentence of the book. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to deal with it right now, if you want to know the truth. Okay, so we already have an idea of who this kid is and maybe a direction he's going to lead us. So, second sentence. In the first place, that stuff bores me. And in the second place, my parents would have about 2 hemorrhages apiece if I told anything pretty personal about them. Okay, that stuff bores me. This is very typical teen talk. All right, when teens don't want to do something, and I don't want to put words in your mouth because you guys are teenagers, but a lot of times they'll say that's boring, right? Whether or not it is boring. They just, they don't want to avoid it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to do it. So they say it's boring. And he's doing that right here. Is it really boring? Well, no, it probably isn't boring, but he doesn't want to deal with it, right? Then his parents would have 2 hemorrhages apiece. This is what I would call hyperbole, which is extreme exaggeration. So this is a literary element. He is exaggerating. What are hemorrhages? That's bleeding, right? So he's saying his parents would bleed to death, probably, if I told anything pretty personal about them. So it could be that the whole family is private. We don't know that for sure, right? We're just starting on the book, but maybe there's something there. Okay, they're quite touchy and anything like that, especially my father. They're nice and all, I'm not saying that, but they're also touchy as hell. Now, what does he mean by touchy? Let's bring that question up. This is a word choice. Touchy. To me, that means they're fussy, right? Finicky. They get kind of irked about things like this. Is that what he means here? Do his parents get bothered easily? Do they perhaps get bothered by things Holden does easily? We don't know, right? But here he is using this word touchy, and he's used it twice now, right? He used it up here, touchy. He used it here, touchy. Besides, I'm not going to tell you my whole goddamn autobiography or anything. So he doesn't want to tell us his life story. Okay, doesn't want to tell us his life story. And what we also know is he swears, right? He swears, and he's not afraid to do it. In fact, we will see swear words, littered all the way through the book. I'll just tell you about this madman stuff that happened to me around last Christmas, just before I got pretty run down and had to come out here and take it easy. This is a loaded sentence. He is telling us all kinds of stuff, and it's vague, and we have to make some pretty severe inferences here. Let's start with madman stuff, right? That happened to me around Christmas. So madman sounds crazy, right? So some crazy stuff happened last year around Christmas. So we don't know what the time of year is now, except I spelled Christmas wrong. All we know is this stuff happened, I don't know. Well, it's not Christmas now. We know that. And this happened about a year ago, right? And it was crazy. Just before I got run down. Okay, so he is run down. To me, that means exhausted, tired, possibly, I don't know, what else would I say about it? When I'm run down, it means I'm exhausted, it means I'm tired, it means I don't have any energy. Is that what he means by this? I don't know, but he's telling us before I got pretty run down, and here's our clue, had to come out here and take it easy. All right, here's my question. Where is he? Where did he have to go because he was run down? All right, to me, this raises all kinds of story questions, right? Some that we probably can't answer at this point, but automatically I want to know, what do you do with someone who's run down, right? Do you send him on a vacation? Is he in Hawaii, right? Probably not. Do you send him somewhere to recover? And what does that place look like? Right? So he got sent somewhere because he's run down. He's telling us some things about himself while he's trying not to tell us things about himself. Okay, I mean, that's all I told DB about. He's my brother and all. Okay, so he does not confide. He does not confide in his brother. Does not confide in his brother. All right, so we know that maybe they're not that close. His brother is in Hollywood. We know where Hollywood is, right? That's California. Right? And then he says, that isn't too far from this crummy place. So a couple things we know. Holden is probably in California. And he thinks the place where he is staying is crummy. All right, now, again, Holden is sarcastic, right? He exaggerates. We've already seen that. So crummy might be an exaggeration. Maybe the place isn't that bad. I don't know. But he doesn't love it, right? That's pretty clear. But his brother does come and visit him, right? It says it right here. Comes and visits me every weekend. So even though he makes us feel like he's not close to his brother is visiting him every weekend. So, to me, there are a variety of ways we can interpret that. One way I'm going to interpret it is wherever he's staying, his brother's worried about him, and he's coming to visit him every weekend. That says something, right? That says something to the reader. He's going to drive me home when I go home next month, maybe. Okay, so he's almost ready to go home. whatever that means. And there's a maybe. This is an author choice, right? He put maybe in there. So his going home depends on something. What? Behavior, health, recovery. All right, I'm starting to feel like he's probably staying in an institution somewhere for his health. Okay, so his brother just got a Jaguar. I love Jags, but I can't afford one. This is an expensive car, so there's money involved here. Let's just put a $sign. One of those little English jobs that can do around 200 miles an hour. Whoa, what do you need to go that fast for? This is back to hyperbole, right? Voice. This is Holden's voice. What is he doing? He is exaggerating. Can a Jaguar go 200 miles an hour? I'd be very surprised, but I don't know, maybe. It cost him damn near $4,000. Okay, $4,000 for a Jaguar is nothing. I have no idea what that car goes for today, but it's probably, 20 times that at least. So this is a while ago. I mean, if you can buy a Jaguar for $4,000, this is not occurring today. So that places us in time. Some of the word choice also places us in time. Things like touchy or crummy. I don't hear kids say crummy very often these days. He's got a lot of dough, though, so this is money. He's talking about his brother still. His brother has money. Oops. Sorry. Brother has money. He didn't used to, so this is a new thing. He used to be just a regular writer when he was home. So we know that California is not home. He wrote this terrific book of short stories. Okay, I want to comment on this word choice. Terrific. Holden is usually sarcastic and somewhat rude, right? He doesn't talk positively about things. This is our first positive word. First positive word. And it is about his brother's book of short stories. My guess is he really does like his brother's book of short stories, and he really liked it. He said terrific. I'm going to take Holden at his word there. The Secret Goldfish is the title of the book of short stories, in case you never heard of them. The best one in it was The Secret Goldfish, which is kind of funny, right? And I don't know if he's purposely being funny there or not, but you just repeated the title of the book. It was about this little kid that wouldn't let anybody look at his goldfish because he bought it with his own money. It killed me. All right. Why does he like this story? Why does he like this story? What is it about the topic that makes Holden like it? Is it because it's about a little kid? Is it because it is about a little kid who is quirky? I don't know. But when he says it killed me, right? No, again, of course we have exaggeration. This is hyperbole again. It didn't kill him. But he's saying he liked it, right? This is how he's saying how much he appreciated that book. Now he's back to his brother. Now he's out in Hollywood, DB, being a prostitute. Now, I don't think we're supposed to take this literally. Don't take literally. I'm not sure, but I don't think his brother is literally a prostitute. So let's figure out what he means by that. If there's one thing I hate, it's the movies. Don't even mention them to me. So I'm going to make some assumptions here. I'm going to make some inferences. It did not say anywhere in this paragraph that his brother, DB, is writing scripts for movies, right? It doesn't say that anywhere in this paragraph, and yet we can draw that inference. How can we draw that inference? Because, first of all, Holden told us now he's making money, he's living in Hollywood, he's prostituting himself, don't even talk to me about movies, I hate them. So it sounds like his brother is working for the movies, no longer writing short stories, And Holden doesn't have a whole lot of respect for that. So that's how I can draw that inference that DB is writing scripts for movies. So let's go back up quickly a minute. Word choice, we looked at that. We looked at some phrases that are put together in interesting ways. We looked at different ways we can interpret lines. What might the author's purpose be? If I look at this paragraph and I try to think about what the author's purpose is in writing this opening paragraph for the book, The Catcher in the Rye, first of all, I know he's trying to present a certain character to us. This kid is sarcastic, right? He's very willing to swear. We also know, though, that he's vulnerable. He's run down. Something happened last Christmas time that broke him. And now he's probably staying in a convalescent home, is what I would call it, but he's staying in a home to recover. And I'm wondering if there was maybe some depression going on there, even though we don't see that yet in this paragraph, but there are some hints, right? So he is presenting this kid to us, this really strong, powerful voice, this kid who's sarcastic and exaggerates and is kind of flippant and yet is vulnerable. And already in the first paragraph, we can see that he likes children's books, and that says something about Holden as well. So that was the first paragraph. Your job is going to be to do the same thing with a different paragraph, okay? Just choose one of these. Make sure that you put your name beside the one that you choose and go through these, the same thing that we did together. Choose a paragraph, interpret the writing, make notes in the margins, and then conclude. Why is it written this way? All right, and once you are done, make sure that you turn in a little note to me that says, yeah, I've done it, and I will come in and look at this document and give you credit. All right, let's have fun with this. Dig in. See what you can find out about this character called Holden Caulfield.